Save 100% when you don't buy anything, opportunity costs, and compounding interest. This is Ken Boyd with the Accounting Accidentally Substack page. So that phrase, save 100% when you don't buy anything, I saw a social media post that showed a small sign outside of a retail store with that saying, which I thought was pretty funny, but it brings up a valuable point. We make decisions about buying, or better yet, not buying products and services all the time. And in some cases, I don't give it much thought. But if I look at the impact over a year or even 10 years, the impact can be significant. So my long-term bad habit. I go to Panera about 6 days a week and I buy a $600 drink. It has about 400 calories. It's not good for me, and I convince myself that I deserve it after I go to the gym. So that's a pretty good rationalization. Okay, 6 days a week times 50 weeks a year, I'll subtract vacations, is 300 purchases. At $6 a purchase, that's $1,800 a year. So what else could I do with $1,800 annually? That's the question. And to find out the answer, we have to think about opportunity costs. Opportunity cost is defined as what you give up by choosing A instead of B. And we deal with opportunity costs all the time because we make decisions all the time. For example, what make or model car do I buy? Should I go to graduate school? If I get in, do I quit my job and go full time? What career do I pursue? We make decisions all the time. So I've convinced myself that spending $1,800 a year at Panera is worth it. And that choice gives me more value than other alternatives. That's what I say to myself. But just for kicks, what if I invested that money in the stock market? And for that, we need to define a quote, normal return. So what's a normal return on stocks if such a number exists? Seeking Alpha is a site that I highly recommend, and they have some great stats on historical returns for the S&P 500 from 1928 to 2015. So over 88 years, it went up 64 years, down 24 years. The worst return was over 43% negative. Ouch. The best return was 52% positive. The mean, the math term, the mean, think average was about 11%. So what's normal? Over a long term, Seeking Alpha says 11%. Other stats suggest 8 to 10%. So let's use 10% and assume that I invest $1,800 for 5 years. How much could I earn, assuming that I reinvest the earnings each year? And that brings us to the magic of compounding. Now I'm going to use interest to explain this. Compounding interest is defined as earning interest on interest. And when you compound interest, your total earnings are higher, which is the point here. So let's assume you buy a $1,000 5% bond, pays 5% annually. In year one, you earn $50, 1,000 times 5%. But here's the key. In year two, the investor keeps the original amount invested at 1,000, plus the year one earnings of $50 get added in. So the total amount invested is 1,050. 5% on $1,000 on $1,050, the higher amount is $5,250. By investing an extra $50, you earn $5,250 or $2.50 more, which defines compounding. Now let's apply it to the $1,800 invested, assuming a 10% annual return for 5 years. Stock earnings are generated from both dividends that are paid by the company plus price appreciation on the stock. And we just saw Seeking Alpha talking about price appreciation. So if we compound earnings for stocks, we need to change our thinking. Let's think about earnings for stocks rather than interest on a bond. So to compute that amount, I use the future value table. And I assume 10%, which is across the top of a table, 5 years down the left-hand side. And the number I come up with is 1.61. That's the present value factor. So my $1,800 times 1.61 means that I earn $2,898. That's what I have in total at the end of 5 years. Another way to say it is I earn 1,098, the difference between 1,800 and 2,898. I earned 1,098 over 5 years, which isn't bad. You can use the strategy for a number of different decisions. For example, my oldest daughter debated between selling stock that she owned to buy a condo or keeping the dollars invested and continuing to rent. It turns out she bought the condo. The reasons why, it's a long story with a lot of variables. So there are other factors to consider. but calculating the potential return on an investment is a valuable tool. So that's as far as we'll get for right now. And for other content on accounting and finance, you can go to accountingaccidentally@substack.com. Thanks.